Next up, we have the quick attach plate. And originally I'd intended to take the one off that came with the Dash A, switch all the pins to it, because its bosses, like, they're in way better shape where the pins run through. Then I realized that these two ears that the cotter pin latches behind for the quick attach mechanism, like that, those two ears have been torched off, so I need to replace those before I can put that quick attach plate on. So I'll just throw this one on for the time being, just so it has a quick attach plate on there. It's in worse shape, it'll do. So there's 3 pins per side on these things. 1 pin for the trip ram, 1 pin for the bottom of the quick attach, and 1 pin runs through the bottom of the mast, or the boom itself, that the bucket pivots on. Alright, so the way this quick attach works, actually pretty clever. The top pins, where the rams attached to the carrier plate, extend outwards. These ones, somebody's added these nice big wings to the end of. And the plate pivots here. But it has these extra pins, which are spring-loaded. And this particular quick attach carrier has had an extra hunk of metal stuck in there, so you can lock them into the place with the retainer cotter pins for the springs. Same wing end on there. And what that does is you bring the top ear in and notch it into there, then swing the plate in like so, and the spring-loaded pins come out into those holes and lock the whole bucket or grapple or whatever other attachment you have in place. And the quick attach plate itself can be used as just a blade for grading. takes as fast as that to attach a bucket to one of these. Sometimes, when the universe is really going your way that day, you can get it slung down into position with the bucket all the way back, and if you slam it back against the rest, the lower pins will just pop out into their slots, and you'll be ready to go without having to climb off the tractor at all. But even when they don't, it's just a matter of climbing down and popping them out. It's not as fast or efficient as one of the new Bobcat bob plates, but it certainly gets the job done. And they did build quite an assortment of attachments for these things. There was multiple different kinds of buckets, grapples, a big loose hay accumulator that they ran on. Some of them actually designed for stacking loose hay. That's why the thing lifts so ridiculously high, is to stack onto the tops of stacks. Where there was a whole bale accumulator system that there was a packer that'd run behind the baler and drop packs of 9, I want to say, square bales, all in a nice little raft. And there was a big accumulator that you'd mount on the front of one of these things that you just come along, pick it up, set it on the wagon, take the whole pack of 9 off the wagon, set it on the stack. In theory, at least, you never had to handle the hay at all, other than cutting the strings off of it to feed it. But I don't have any of that, or any need for it. They also made a big, huge, engine-driven snowblower that I believe would have mounted to these same kind of quick attaches. But I've not seen anything more than advertisements for those, so kind of doubtful as to how many actually survived or how many were built in the first place. One of the many other things that isn't quite right on this loader is the grapple, which I'm trying to get in order today because I need it for a few jobs. But the gland cylinder on this seal is just trashed. Every time you try and cycle the grapple in, it just pours the oil out. There's one of the 4. There we go. I'm going to guess that this is going to try and make a mess. So, I'm going to be smart and put rags down underneath it now. Bump the tripod again. Cylinder looks pretty good, actually. I don't think that's going to need anything. With it all torn apart, there's really not much to one of these cylinders, or a surprising amount depending on how you look at it. These are all new seals, but 3 parts of the piston nut, a gland, 4 bolts that hold the gland on, piston seals, more piston seals, the gland sealing equipment, and the barrel, and that's pretty much it. So, one seal I forgot to get was that O-ring there, but since it's not available, gonna hope that one's still good. Still standing up proud of its land, so should work just fine. First step on this one is to get the gland assembled. This one, there's a lower seal, a spacer, a snap ring, and just a wiper seal. So this one, already cleaned out the bore where it lives. Drops down in there. That is tight fit, but not obnoxiously tight either. And the spacer. There you go. That's down. Snap ring bore is visible all the way around. That went worryingly easily. And a wiper. That whole mess is done. It can go. That sealed all up in place. Now for the piston. There's the backer plate. On top of that goes backer ring. An O-ring. And another backup ring. And the piston can get loaded with its seals. One on either side of it. And of course, that recess side, that side doesn't have one. That's for those backup rings and seals there. And end plate. And both end plates were a little bit chewed up. And there were already millwright tracks on the nut, so I don't feel a bit bad about using a pipe wrench on it. But since it's been off at least twice, I'm going to, well, I was going to dollop some. Dollop. Okay, now that it took way too long to open a can of a tube of Loctite, drizzle some onto the threads, just to make up for the fact that this nylon has been reused. This is probably going on its third time, at minimum. Now you want these tight, because if they back off while your cylinder's in operation, not a very fun day. But at this point, there's the gland reassembled, the piston reassembled, and the barrel doesn't require any reassembly, so had to get those two piston seals started. Now, paying attention to the location of the two hydraulic ports on the gland and on the barrel, making sure those are on the same sides. Everything can just slide together, and the bolts can go in. And there's the dump truck load of logs that I need the grapple to move. So, turn off the camera, get this zipped up in just a sec. Alright, got the load of logs put away. So now on to the 4 bolts that hold the gland to the barrel. This is part of why I know that this cylinder has been apart, is because 2 of the bolts are threaded all the way up. 2 of the bolts are shouldered, and they both have yellow paint. So I'm, between that and a couple other reasons, I'm pretty sure there were 2 grapples that became 1 here, which, not a big deal. But in this case, the 2 bolts, one of which is on the floor, went on the bottom of the on the bottom of the barrel, and the other 2 went on the top. Not that it makes much difference either way. And it's really convenient on these bolts that the head is held in place by the boss on the barrel that it goes through. All you have to do is sit here and cinch the bolts down, or cinch the nuts down, and sucks the gland down into place, and everything is happy. And you can see that it won't be too hard to get to that O-ring. I forgot if it does decide to leak. Other than hoses, that's one rebuilt cylinder. And it's pretty normal for them to be stiff, because keep in mind there's 4 new seals in there that have never had anything being passed through them before, so got them a little bit of slack. Now for the hoses. And boom, hydraulics are ready to go once I cinch that down. Now that I've got everything put back together, figured I would run through the grease zerks on these things. On the bucket, or on the quick attach plate, there are 4. 1 here on the trip ram, 1 down on the bottom of the main boom pivot, of course duplicated on the other side. Nothing at the upper pivot for the trip cylinder, or the upper pivot for the boom lift. Then we have 1 on each side at the back of the boom cylinder, and one that is reached through that hole in the top of the boom at the top boom pivot. That's all of the ones. And of course that's mirrored on either side of the machine. Then on the grapple attachment I have for it, which kind of self-destructed itself a little bit. I'll fix that later. There's one at the end of the third function cylinder, one on either side of its lower pivot, then one at each point where the grapple rock shaft pivot. That seems like a wrap for episode 3 here. Got pretty much everything taken care of. I've been running this tractor pretty hard. As you can see, it's now January when I'm filming this, and it started in summer, so some of this has been spread out over a while. And in fact, both trip cylinders need to be repacked, and that boom cylinder does on the far side. But already had rebuilding of one farmhand hydraulic cylinder in this video, so I don't think there's any reason to see any more, as other than how the gland attaches to that one, it seems to have very few differences to the curl cylinder for the grapple. And these look like they're just a larger bore diameter of the curl cylinder. It's got the same exact mounting methods, only they're 6 feet long instead of 1. So, thanks for watching.